let's look at some application problems. So for these problems, these are all story problems. So we're going to start by reading through and talking about what each variable means in the story. So we've got weekly profit in dollars made by selling X Boy game systems. So we know that X is the number of game systems they sell. Number of game systems sold. And Y is our weekly profit in dollars. So what we want to start with is we're going to graph this function. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you are not going to be required to graph equations this hard by hand. So what I would do is just graph this on Desmos and then look at it. So it'd look like something like this. So we've got our graph here on Desmos. If you click on your graph like this, Desmos will actually show you the x-intercepts and the vertex right there. So we have x-intercepts at about 0.8 and 112.4. So let's come in here. We have an x-intercept at 0.8 and the other one was at 112.4. And our parabola looked, oops, let's do that a little better. Like that. With our vertex here in the center. So we go back to Desmos, it was 56.6 repeating, 4,666.6 repeating. Phew. So 56.6 repeating, 666.6 repeating. So there is our graph. And we also, it does also want the Y-intercepts. So if we come here to Desmos, there's my Y-intercept at 0, negative 150. So, like I said, I'm not really worried about you being able to graph and find all of these things by hand on an equation this complicated. I'm more worried that you can interpret what they mean in terms of the story problem. So let's look at B and talk about that. B says interpret the zeros of P. So to interpret, the easiest thing to remember is to remember what our X and Y value variable stood for. So the X variable is the number of game systems sold. That's this axis. And these variables. So all of those red numbers stand for the number of game systems sold. And the y-axis is our weekly profit. So y-axis, that's all of these y numbers. So all of these y numbers are our weekly profit. So now if I go to interpret the zeros, the x-intercepts, I can see that at, at 0.8 and 112.4 game systems sold, because that's my X variable, the company makes $0 profit, because that's what the Y variable means. So at these X variables, these are the Y variables. So at these game systems sold, this is the profit. So kind of understanding that, we should be able to interpret the vertex. If we sell this many game systems, we will maximize our profit at that. So to maximize profit of $4,666, we need to sell 56 to 57 gaming systems. And if we sell that many gaming systems, that is going to give us our maximum profit, our X variable and our Y variable. So hopefully all of that makes sense about interpreting that, making sure we understand what the variables mean. That's really the most important part of your story problems for this lesson. In the next video, we'll try one other story problem where we talk about Kyle and his alpaca farm.